So we've said hello to people here. Just for anybody who's coming in, or this for you guys who are here, if you do unmute yourself, it will flash up and you will come on to the screen, and it's going on YouTube, so it will be available for everybody to see. So if you don't want to be seen by the millions of people who will watch this, then don't. I say that, oh, who's going to do that? But it could happen. It will happen, I'm sure. Then just keep yourself muted, and it will just be speaker view. So becoming enough, it sounds really well, yeah, of course I'm enough, of course I'm good enough. And everybody, especially people who've done work, which a lot of people I work with have done a lot of work on themselves and things, and a lot of us then know that our stories, especially it feels like women have like a strain, if you like, have this kind of this fundamental thing with not being good enough, or not being, insert your own, like worthy or rich or from the right background or old, or I don't know, whatever it is, not enough. And I thought, oh well, once you know that, that's it, that's fine, and you can crack on and work on your stuff and help other people and things. But what I've realized is that it is a fundamental thing that keeps coming back, and it comes back and back and back in kind of bigger and bigger and bigger ways. So the more I do, the more intricate the not enough gets. And I guess this has been brewing for me for a year to really focus on the not enoughs, but I didn't really know how it looked. And I actually thought that I wasn't healed enough to be able to help other people with their not enough. So there you go. But what really brings it home is that even just recently, so I had the baby, and those of you who do or do not know, my partner who I had the baby with, it was an interesting relationship anyway, decided to leave when I was 5 days after the baby. Now, I'm not here for any sympathy or anything, but what it does bring up is, oh my goodness, am I not everything enough? Am I not good enough? Am I not nice enough? Am I a bad person? And it's not just about the enoughs. It's just that I'm not capable even of holding on to somebody. What have I done? I've got 3 children to 3 different men. Who am I? All of a sudden, my world started to cave. Like, what have I done? Why am I not? Why do people not want to stay with me? Why do I drive people? What am I doing? And it was all this. And so it's not necessarily the enough. It's just the sort of the feeling of being broken, the feeling of being that, what is it about me that makes me not good enough, that makes me not lovable, and the unlovable side, and I don't truly believe that, but it does. What I suppose I'm trying to demonstrate that no matter where you are on your journey, these can kind of attack you and feel like feel crippling. And it's the feelings that you just want to go and curl up and be all small again. That's kind of what I feel the not enoughs are. Like you start doubting everything that you are and everything that you are capable of. And you start thinking, oh my gosh, maybe I do need to heal more. Maybe I am still really broken. And all of it can take you back, further than necessary, or further than you want to go, because I feel the not enoughs are kind of almost based in with our witch's wound. They are everything that wants to keep us small, everything that wants to keep us safe and little. And I don't know about you, but when I feel like I'm not lovable enough, I do almost turn into that little girl. And I turn into the little Lucy who's there, like wide-eyed, saying, oh, please, somebody just make it okay. And I almost like want to talk like that, because it's a real little person feeling, is that, why does nobody love me? And why won't somebody make it okay? And will somebody come and rescue me? And it feels very little. So the not enoughs, the reason, the reason they're so important to understand is because they can come at any part in our healing journey, and I see it everywhere. But I would say that people who are quite far, who know a lot, who've done a lot of stuff, who've done a lot of work, and who know this stuff inside and out, maybe my perception is that the appreciation for this not enoughs isn't felt, I guess. And it's like, well, it's bigger than that, but I don't feel it is bigger than that, because the imposter syndrome thing. So when you want to start your business, you want to go and put yourself out there. Think, I can't do that. No, I'm not tech savvy enough. I'm not, I don't look good enough. I haven't got a good enough background on my Zoom. I shouldn't be doing, I need to be prettier. I need to be better online. I need to be more prepared. It's all of these things that stop us, and I feel that all of them are rooted in this not enough story. And when I was looking at setting up a way of really helping people with this, it was like, well, what is it that I've got to give, and what is it that I feel, rather than making it too complicated. The process is simple about the stories. It's always about the stories that we tell, and working with some people specifically on this. And I've had a few guinea pigs with like working purely on this not enough. They're not dissimilar stories, and where they come from, especially, well, I would say it's the people I'm working with, I mean, with women, it's not dissimilar. The stories aren't dissimilar. Where they come from is, but there's a real similarity with where the stories are coming from. And I suppose I figured out, and I've been logging what it takes. That's why I said the first 3 steps. No matter where you are on your journey, that I've been logging, that have helped me every time these come up. And you'll probably know all these first 3 things, but the first thing is, and it's almost harder when you've done loads of work, is the total acceptance of what's happening. When you feel these things coming onto you, it's the total acceptance of who you are. And it's not, oh, that's the dark side of me, or that's that horrible story coming, or that's that thing that I've been trying to get rid of. It's the total acceptance, the total utter love for that part of you that's coming up. That it's the total acceptance. Acceptance is something I feel that we talk about but maybe don't fully get. And it's not I want that person to accept me, and I've gone into relationships and I just want you to accept me for who I am. And my most recent relationship says, oh, I can't, because I don't like some of who you are. And why do you like that part of you? And I'm like, well, it's not that and I remember I found myself defending, well, it's not, I do like it, but that is who I am. Well, why wouldn't you want to change part of you that isn't good or is stroppy? And I'm like, oh, like I didn't think, and I thought that was it was fun. I thought that was just, all of a sudden I was starting to question who I was. But actually, seeking acceptance from other people is relatively pointless, because if they don't accept themselves, they're not going to accept you anyway. And who does accept? There's very few people who fully accept who they are anyway. So it's a case of total and utter acceptance of exactly any story that's coming up. It's accepting it and loving that anyway. And it's beyond like, oh yeah, of course I love myself and accept myself anyway. But do you know what has really become really clear just the last few months is the fundamental things we learn, especially as EFT practitioners. I mean, what do we say every time we're taught to tap? Is I love and accept myself anyway. Now there's a reason why. There is a reason why we have to love and accept ourselves anyway, because without loving and accepting the bits that we don't actually like very much, without that and actually not liking them and trying to change them all the time, it's, we're doing ourselves a massive disservice, and we're actually inviting for other people to come in and also not accept us and love us for who we are either. And I should know that better than anyone. If you saw the people I've brought into my life are people who will not accept and love me for who I am, because I didn't feel lovable enough. And I felt, I've got these dark bits, but if I cover them up, somebody will love me. And I was doing that, but I accept that I was doing that. And I accept that that's what, and I accept that I had this stuff come up, and I accept that all the work I've done is still bringing me to these places where there's still more to do if I want to, or there's not. But I accept myself wholly for where I am right now. And I suppose when you don't feel good enough, when you feel unlovable, and you don't feel prepared, or all the not enoughs, that is almost the most tricky thing to do, because when you feel incomplete, how can you accept yourself when you're not enough, when you're half, when you still, imagine a jar of being full and you're down here and the jar's that full, how do you accept that that's where you are? Well, because you are. And the minute you accept it, you become full up anyway. And the only bit that's missing is utter love for self. And a way to know if you are accepting and loving yourself fully is to see how people around you, what they, not caring what they think, but who are you attracting around you? What are the closest people to you? What do they think of you? Not that it matters, but it's interesting, because if they are quite judgmental, if they doubt you, if they are quite critical of you, that is just a reflection of how you are feeling about yourself. So who are the closest people around you? But there's someone coming in now. I pop you on mute, just because then otherwise, could you pop yourself on mute? Oh, you have done, thanks. So a great way of knowing how if you are accepting yourself is, see the closest people to you and how they feel about you. I know that might, like I say, it's not to take their opinions to heart, but it is just a reflection of how you feel about yourself. So it's that's what I found really interesting, is noting who I'm bringing into my life and their feelings on me. So the first step isn't just, accept myself with being a bit shit. It's not about acceptance of being shit. It's acceptance of that is absolutely fundamentally who you are, and you are enough even when you don't feel enough, even when you think you're broken, when you think you're half full, when you've not done enough healing, all those things. You are totally, once you start accepting and loving everything that you are, and I used to say, and everything you are not, but it's irrelevant if you're not it, because that's not you, is it? So absolutely, fundamentally, everything that you are in this moment, accept it, and notice where you're not accepting it, and notice where you are allowing that to be diminished. And I say I think it's one of the hardest things to do when you're living with the, but I'm not healed enough, or I'm not lovable enough, or I even had, I shared it, I think I even had, I looked in the mirror and thought, oh my God, like I know how to get into shape. I'm bloody Pilates instructor. I know all the stuff about how to look better. Why do I look like this? And I'm like, I've not thought like that for years. And I was like, oh my God, like I've just had a baby. What am I, like, who gives a shit if my tummy's a bit, and I was like, oh my goodness. And it took me straight back to anorexic days when I was a size 4, like UK size 4. I was tiny, I was dying. And I still felt the same then. I was like, oh my goodness, I was never going to be enough. I was never going to be, it wasn't about food, it wasn't about thinness, but it was about it was about controlling things as well. But, these stories that come up are there to keep us small, because smaller is safer in so many ways. Being small and being unseen is relatively safe. So remember that these not enoughs are to keep us small. And however much you're a tapper or a holistic healer, the stories are at the root, and the acceptance of the stories, the acceptance of the not enough is the first key, right? And like radical acceptance, total acceptance, and like I say, looking at who you got in your life, right? The second thing, again, which everyone's going to know of, is letting go. Right, everyone's all right, not going to let go of shit. We all know about that, Elsa's thing. What is it? Not Elsa, is it Elsa? Yeah, that's it. It is Elsa. Let it go. The song. I won't sing it today. I could. But letting go. Yeah, we all know about letting go. It's all yeah, sure. But it's not just a case of let it go, put it in the bin. Yeah, like I've done a lot of decluttering stuff with people and letting go. But I mean, letting go on such a level that, again, it comes back to love. Letting go of resentment, anger, outcomes, letting go of attachment to anything, letting go so much that you let it go of expectation of others. Let go of these visions that you've had, these desires. And again, I've evolved as a person knowing that actually when you cling on to your desires, you're just pushing them all away because you're so desperate to hold on to this thing that you've created that it's never going to get there, never going to come to you, because you're holding on to it so tight it can't possibly become. So it's letting go, it's allowing your dreams to happen while you're getting on with life. It's letting go of this, the desire to make it all happen. It's having your dreams, loving them, not holding them so tight they can't breathe, but loving these dreams so much that they can't help but happen, dreaming them, looking at them with love, but not with expectation and not with this desperate wanting, because wanting, again, is coming from a lack. Wanting people to love you, again, because if you don't feel good enough, you're almost desperate to fill that part of you up, and that can come in the form of love. It can come if you desperately want a family, if you desperately want love in your life, you desperately want a business to be fruitful. When we want it so much, or we need it so much, we're literally holding on to it and suffocating the dream so much, because it's coming from a point of we don't have it. It's not ours already. And I believe, and everyone's different, but I believe everything is there for the taking. We just have to be able to let go enough to allow it to sit with us, to allow it to come. Just let go of it, just allow it to be, without expectation and without attachment to obsessive attachment to all these outcomes. I mean, it's a big old subject, letting go. And it's been something that I have been doing in such a way. So like I mentioned before, I don't want to bang on about it, but being able to let go of anger and resentment, and not just saying, oh, I don't want to be angry, that's really nasty, to say, I'm fucking angry. I'm going to own my angriness with such resolve. I'm going to use it to be courageous. I'm going to use my anger and say, do you know what? I am angry. I'm not ashamed of being angry anymore. I am fucking angry, and I'm going to propel myself. I'm going to use it as a springboard to courage. I'm going to go up the scale of kind of, so I'm not going to be angry and resentful, but I am going to understand that I am angry and resentful, and I'm going to let go of it, but I'm not going to let go of the fire that it's brought me. Because everyone sees anger as really like, oh, that's so icky. Oh, don't be angry, because that's really unhelpful and everyone's going to go crazy. And people have a real, everyone's scared of their own anger. But when I started going, no, I'm angry, fucking angry, actually, and that's mine, that's not anyone else's in the room, that's all mine, and I am angry and I am resentful. But rather than, we tend to pretend we're not. I'm not. Don't you dare tell me I'm angry, I don't resent. And and you're kind of denying it whilst knowing it's true, and you've got this lack of integrity. You don't need to tell the world that you are, but don't, when we're ashamed of our feelings, then they just eat us up. So these big feelings that we don't want guilt. If we don't want guilt and shame, what do? We pretend it doesn't exist. We pretend, we cover it all up. Oh, that's icky. We don't want to show that we feel ashamed. And angry is one of them, because anger has got a bad rap for being explosive and hurting. And it gets like that when we deny its existence. It gets like that anyway. It can get like that anyway. But, but the more we go, this is, again, acceptance of our anger, acceptance of all the shit that we're feeling. Because burying it is toxic, and is going to it just leads to just this awful self kind of, like, you imagine if you bury this anger, it's like burying shame and grief and guilt. It kind of turns, I can just imagine it inside, just turning yourself like black, and or just like, oh, and watch Moana where like it reminds me of that. You're just turning it into yourself and becoming, going from this lovely fruitful mountain to this volcano of rage. And it's very easy to be angry because you can feel wronged. And I mean, the upshot of holding on to anger, we have, like, you know, if you look at it like, well, we get the good points. Yes, of course you can, darling. The upshot of being of holding on to anger is we get to be self-piteous. We get to hold on to resentment. We get to feel wounded. So you hurt me. If I stay angry, you don't get off with it. You know, if we actually hold on to it, we get these lovely self-pity, we get to be the victim in it, we get these upshots that, again, it's not a shame thing. It's just that that's what we get to be. We get to be the wounded party. If we let go of people who have hurt us or have wronged us, then, like, it almost feels like, but that's not okay, because then they're getting away with it, doesn't it? And whatever level of healing you are, there's an element of, but they did that. And I see it all the time. I see it, oh gosh, in the current system of a lot of people are dissing coaches at the moment, and they're out in the world, yeah, she was crap at her job. It's like, well, you know, you chose to work with somebody, you probably got something. But the you know, it's like the ambulance chases, if you like. The somebody wronged me, and the angrier I get, the more I'm going to get back out of it. And you do, right? The good thing is you do get something out of it. And I always remember when I first trained with Carl Dawson in EFT, and he said, whatever energy you put in, you will get back. But remember how much because if it will dent you. So if you're angry and say, you know, you say you had an operation and they wronged you, and they fucked up. Yeah, you will go and you can fight them, and you will absolutely get a payout. Right. But what if it takes you 5 years of fighting to get what you deserve? Is it worth it? Is it worth it because they wronged you, they should pay? Now, it was interesting. So, well, actually, but they do deserve to know what they've done. But is it worth your utter, you know, this he gives a story of this woman who just literally depleted everything because she was wronged by a system, and she got the payout. But by the end of it, she was so battered, it didn't matter anymore. She was so utterly 5 years of court battles. And, you know, you think, gosh, look what it's done just to prove that she was right, and to prove that they'd wronged her. But she got what she was going for in the end. But there's a feeling of this, she never kind of got over this kind of this bitterness because of the fighting she'd had to do to get this payout, and for them to say, oh yeah, you were right, we wronged you. But it took 5 years of fighting. And I suppose it's like, is it worth it to prove you're right? What levels will you go to say, well, I'm right, you wronged me, I'm right, that's not okay? And sometimes it's really hard if you've really been wronged, and the other person isn't able to let go, and they're angry and they're hurting, and you see your friends disappear because you actually want to let go and leave it behind you and move on and show up in love, but they're feeling wronged. And it's very, very tricky, because being on a, you know, it's very, very tricky because then it comes into not caring what other people think and knowing that the right people will be around you. So releasing attachment to other people's feelings of you, releasing attachment to anger, to resentment, to all these things, to letting go of the payoffs of being right, and being, you know, to you being wronged and you are right to feel angry, letting go of all of that. And even being able to love them as well, to realize that the world, to love people where they are, even if that is a bit shitty. You don't have to have them in your life, but to show up in love. And not like, remember just after I had the baby, I had a real revelation, like, I'm not in love with someone, I'm just in love. Right now, I just feel in love, and it's like I'm in the, like, have you ever, the Newton Faulkner song, love is a word, love is a verb, love is a doing word. I was in the space of love, not in love with or in love for, but just in the vibration of love. And the more we can sit there, the more we can release attachment to everything else. And the tricky thing about not feeling enough, or having all of these imposter and self-doubt things, that love can be trickier, because we have all of this these feelings of being small, literally stifling us. So then to show up in love is very big. But letting go of all of these negative feelings towards anyone else or ourselves, documenting it. Zeke's like, yeah, totally agree. I've got a baby down here, like sleeping and feeding all at the same time. So letting go of attachment to all that, and letting go, I believe, now this is possibly controversial, of the need to forgive other people. Because if forgiving yourself is one thing, but if we feel the need to forgive other people, we're then judging that what they're doing is wrong, and then we're sitting in judgment as well, aren't we? So if we feel, oh, we need to forgive that person, I mean, think of your path. You're on your path. You may fuck up, you may make mistakes, but the only person who can forgive you is you. The only person at the end of the day who's going to show up, and where whatever you believe happens when we die, the only person who is going to who is judging you is you. So the only person who can forgive you ultimately is you. Seeking forgiveness of other people is well, you can, but it's not. I don't believe. I mean, I have a big old thing about forgiveness, but in order to forgive other people, we are. I mean, that's what they choose to do. Even if people have wronged you and people have done horrible things, that's them and their journey. And if we sit, well, I can only move on once I forgive them. I personally believe that is a real way of staying stuck. Personally, that we actually have to release the need to forgive anyone. Let them do the forgiving of themselves. You need to concentrate on your path. And whilst we have to forgive somebody else, and I've said the story a few times, but it was a conversation with my daughter I had about forgiveness of an adult who really hurt her. She went, I can't, it's not okay. And it was actually the releasing of needing to forgive that person that enabled her to move on, because she was stuck in anger. Because I can't forgive. I said, well, that's not up to you. That's up to them. You need to forgive you for holding it. Self-forgiveness personally is a huge part of being able to let go and not needing to forgive the other person or the other experience or whatever it is, but focusing on you. So let me just see, because I want to, so like I said, the first two, I'll go recap. I mean, literally get to the first three things I do. I mean, I have created, well, I'm in the process of creating like nothing I've ever done before I go on to the third one. I've created something where each month we actually cover the not enoughs for each part of life, and we actually don't go deep on like food, on relationships and stuff. So I'm creating this space for people to come and be part of, but actually focusing on a different part of life each month, but actually teaching the fundamentals of what I view as not enoughs and tapping and things like that as well in the beginning. And then each month we focus on something life specific. So it's kind of an evolving thing that I've created, but I'll tell you more about that later. But we but this is the start of it, and then I've got all these other different modules that I've created about the recovery, about our behaviors that are big on our stories and things like that. But anyway, the next thing that we need to understand, right, which has been huge, is the fact that when we're not enough, we have huge trauma responses. coming in. So we have to deal with the trauma. Some people call it behavior, some people call it reactions, but it's a trauma response. It's knowing that we are then sitting in this zone of not enough, and we are possibly in fight, flight, fawn, and freeze, or probably, yes, we're not probably in fight and flight, but we're in fawn or freeze. We're in this version of ourselves that isn't good enough and is small, and that's going to trigger big traumatic responses, and they're different for everybody. My traumatic response is going to hyper independence. No, I'm fine, leave me alone. That's where I go into, you, I don't need anyone, I'm fine, just go away, I do it myself, because if you come near me, then you're gonna make me see that I'm broken. So I can't trust you because you're going to hurt me. So I go into, that's what I do. I go into, and that is just a trauma response. That became quite clear more recently for me as well. That's what I'm doing. And not so much, it's been something I want to now not be. So like I say, I know, having done this stuff for years and years, I'm now at a stage where I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be hyper independent. And you think, gosh, that's what's got me through. But is that really what I want to be? Yes, I can. Yes, I can do anything. I can absolutely achieve everything in the world. Do I want to do it on my own? Do I want to be that person? Do I want to be you're so, do I want to be the one that, you'll be fine. You always are. You're always amazing. And, when the chips are down, that's when you're strongest. You're like, God, that's shit, isn't it? That things have to get so bad that I'm so amazing when they're that bad. Why can't I be that amazing when they're that good? Why can't I just, do that? So it's understanding that when these things start to happen, we're going to go into these traumatic responses, and that is different for everybody. But that's basically behavior, our behaviors, and they are on repeat. No matter how much I feel, no matter how much we do or heal ourselves, I feel that the beauty of it is that we get to a new level, but it's generally the same story, just at another level. It's the same, new level, same devil, really. It's just another version of this. So we might have dealt with the fact that, I never ask for help. Okay, so that may be the first, when you've got don't ask for help very much. And if you go down in the layers, then you sort of see the root of the traumatic response, and it's understanding that they will be at their most when we don't feel good enough, or we don't feel when we are completely in a state of the not enoughs, like that these traumatic responses come in. So for me, it's easier to talk about. For me, I then go into hyper independence when I'm at my most needy. I then go, I can't do it. I get triggered. I don't feel worthy enough. I don't feel that I'm able to do enough. Therefore, my body and my subconscious go into my traumatic responses, which for me, one of the big ones, like I say, is hyper independence. Deek's like, I don't want to open my eyes. I just want to eat. I don't actually want to look at what I'm doing. Other people's will be to attack. So other people, when they're feeling not enough, they will just lash out and get cross and push people away. Some other people go into apathy and depression. They go super the other way, and as much and almost like go into fawn as well. I don't know, and they sort of go very very young and very sort of I don't know what to do, and almost wanting people to come and save them, go into the state, the sort of to be saved. But an interesting thing about like grief and depression and things, which I had to realize, is that there's only a certain amount when you're in that and you want people to come to you. There's only a certain amount that people can show up for you when you're incredibly sad, in grief, and maybe very depressed. There's only a certain amount that your friends can keep hearing the same stuff. And that sounds really bad, but is that very, very good friends will be there all the time. Family will be there all the time. But that version. It's all right, Zulu. You know that the saying, smile and the world smiles with you, cry and you cry alone. It's a bit like that with, I would say, oh, there we go, because people could have only got a certain amount of tolerance for super sadness. So when we go into that, we're almost also pushing people away a bit. And I didn't like to think that was the case. But like I say, this grief and sadness is quite draining for other people. I've never felt like that, you see. I always thought, oh, okay, I love being there for people who are sad and in grief. Not love it, but I find it very, very, I don't find it draining, but other people do, especially if they're empaths as well. I'm not sure where that's come from. I'm not sure why I even said that, but I did. So there's obviously a need for it. But so it's understanding your personal trauma response when you are feeling small and not good enough. And it's understanding the not enoughs aren't necessarily obvious. So they show up. How to recognize, I would say, and you can add to this list, is how to recognize you're in the you've got not enough going on, stories happening, is when actually it feels like everyone's judging you. So you feel you're in judgment. When you doubt yourself, that's like, is I'm hungry, but I don't know what to do about it. No, I do apologize if it's really loud. When you're in like self-doubt, when also you're in overwhelm, when you are attracting negative treatment from others, right? And it sounds nuts, but when you're attracting people to not be very nice to you, or to call you out all the time, or to see the bad bits in you, you are in a, it's not definitive, but I would say, from my experience, that's when you've got these stories happening. So when a brief example is, probably a very obvious example is, I never felt worthy enough to have a relationship. And I remember when I met my now ex-husband, I was like, oh my gosh, why would he want to be with me? He was gorgeous, had a good job, quite rugged, I thought. I was like, what? No, I'm not good enough for you. So, I mean, that was running in the background. Why would you want me? And I never, and he says, my God, you're one of these people that people want to be with. I was like, yeah, whatever. I never saw that. And actually to see that would be very full of myself, wouldn't it? So I remember when it became very clear that whatever I did, I was never going to be enough, to the point where I realized my husband's actually gay. So on a very I can smirk about it now, but on a very base level, I managed to marry somebody who I was never going to be enough for. Like, there was literally nothing I could do about that, bar the, physically. I mean, like I say, it's slightly comical now, but when I actually brought someone into my life that I was never going to be able to be enough for, that was such a like, oh my God, it's never going to be okay. Whatever I do to fix this relationship, this marriage, it's never going to be enough, because it's fundamentally something that I'm not, and so I think that was probably the biggest like whoa realization. And I was gifted with him in most days seeing something that wasn't good enough about me, but I gifted it to myself, and however well I did, I was, oh gosh, well, I'm not smart, I'm not thin enough to be a Pilates instructor, I'm not healed enough to help other people's heal. It was everywhere. And now I'm not enough to even be a good wife, because look, I can't even do that right. So it's everywhere. And with my most recent relationship, again, it was a daily, why do you do that? Why are you like that? Why would you accept yourself? Why do you think you're perfect as you are? Why are you okay with that? Why do you say one thing and do another? It's and when you attract that into your life, you are running these not enough stories. So that's how, I would say that you've got them. It's not got them, that that's what you're running. And that's and I can't say it loud enough, I guess, that I see it. I see it so much with people who want to heal other people. So holistic healers are running them more, and running them so much that, and that's why they feel they need another qualification. The amount of people, EFTers and stuff, when I see the list of the certificates they've got, they're a hypnotherapist, they're a Reiki master, they're a psychotherapist, they are a havening instructor. I mean, literally, when I see the list of, like, I'm like, oh my golly, wow, because it's never going to be enough. It doesn't matter how many qualifications. You're never going to feel good enough or trained enough to help people heal. And the shamans of yore never went and got a certificate off anyone, did they? They just knew, they had it inside of them. So, and we're in an industry at the moment when the holistic industry is, can you prove that you can help people? Technically, we don't really need any qualification of anybody to, if we have it within us already. But we have, I'm not advocating just rocking up and healing everybody with like a random thing, but I'm just saying you don't need these endless qualifications. But I see it all the time of people collecting, now I can really help people. Now I'm a specialist in eye therapy or something. Now I really can help. And I see it all the time that people not putting their magic out there because they're not quite ready, they're not quite perfect enough, they're not quite trained enough, they don't quite have the experience. And I see it all the time. I'm not living it every day. I hear this a lot. If I'm not living it, if I'm not the perfect example of healed, or speaking to somebody who is an amazing sort of foodie, so like really into nutrition and health, but still has the odd sausage roll, so will not put herself out there because she is not living it and embodying herself in it. I'm like, you're just making an excuse, and that's it. So and I was like, she could do so much with helping people understand about the nature's juices. And I mean, even the other day she went, oh no, lemon and grapefruit, they will help you if you've got cystitis, because your body immediately turns the acid into an alkaline. So actually, the minute it hits your body, boom, they start healing and detoxing. And I'm like, I just assumed lemon would make it worse. But no. I was like, that's information that I didn't have before, that now I know that if I actually have some acidic foods, my body will turn it into an alkaline and actually help heal me. That's amazing. But you think, so she's not doing anyone a service by not being out there in the world. And yet, because she isn't embodying every single aspect of the healed version, will not put herself out there. And I see that so much. I'm not, so that's why I guess my passion is for people who want to heal, is with other people, is that so many people aren't doing it. They're not putting themselves out there because, I haven't got this thing that will complete me. I haven't got yet, therefore I need to wait. I must know more. I must be, oh my God, it's everywhere. I mean, in the Business Bee Club, we have it all the time, don't we? That what are we not yet? What am I not yet that I need to be in order to be better, to be able to help other people? When actually, right now, you're perfect for quite a lot of people. So that's why my passion is for healers and holistic therapists, is because we are the worst, not the worst. We are the people who sit with the not enoughs more than anyone else. Like I say, I'll be honest, I'm not specifically an empath. So I don't feel that I can't help other people, but I do have a lot of, because I'm not enough. I don't have that particular strain of not enough. So, but I see it all the time. I do feel I can help people, but I was in a relationship with somebody who told me I wasn't, because I do shout, because I do get angry, because I'm not the perfect parent. How can I possibly think I can teach anyone else? And I had and it was massively, it it really dented my self-belief. And I allowed self-doubt to creep in massively. And that's what we do. And that's why I realized that to have these people in my life judging me was actually perfectly mirroring to me that I was in the depths of it. And that was, I didn't realize. So that's kind of what I want to help people understand, if you like, that it may not be obvious. And when we are on our journey, we think that this stuff can't affect us as much, and we'll be totally like on it. We'll totally see it when it happens, because we know our shit. We know our shit so much that we'll see it coming. And then I believe that we almost expect it to be more complicated than just not being enough. I believe that we're expecting it to be more difficult or more complex, or we've already done that, so that story's gone. But these stories don't go, and they haven't gone. And yeah, so when we are, like I say, when we are, I don't know, there's more to this list about what not being enough looks like. I was like jotting stuff down last night about what it actually looks like. But like I said, the first three stuff was attracting negative treatment, self-doubt, and being judged. Because if we feel everyone's judging us, then we're sitting there in judgment of ourselves. I mean, and if we assume that everything is just a mirror to what we're actually feeling for ourselves, and we just presume that all the treatment we're getting and all the things we're seeing from other people is purely a mirror as to what we're feeling from ourselves. And that can be I sometimes think, yeah, really? Because I don't think that. But if we just assume it is, if we just assume everything we're seeing and receiving from other people is a mirror, where are you already feeling that inside? Then we can't go far wrong. And I like to dispute that sometimes, but you can't really deny it's the truth. So like I said at the beginning, I have got this revolution that I'm setting up, that I have set up, but it's not like before where I've it's been an 8-week process to take people from a beginning to an end. It's like an ongoing process for people to, like, it's almost like to self-heal with others. That's what I want to set up. It's for healers to heal themselves alongside other people on all these not enoughs in all the parts of our life. Because even if we kind of go, oh, do you know what, my business is amazing, I haven't got any issues with my business, but actually my relationships are now going to shit, or oh, actually I'm doing this, but this part actually my family, I don't get on my family anymore. What we can do is, when we work on one part of the story, another part of our life can sort of take the brunt, which is just sort of, so it's working all right. I've got the story healed now for marriage, but actually I'm finding it hard to make any money or run a business. Oh, I've done that, but God, me and my kids don't get on. Why is that? So what we tend to do is divert the story to some other part of our life. And like I said, I see this a lot. And I think with all the experience of the last few years of helping practitioners and stuff as well, I find that it's a huge thing that they just divert from one part of their life to another. And that's what I wanted to create, was to create a space where we could actually oversee all of our parts of our lives. So that's what I'm opening up, is not an 8-week course or an 8-week program. It's like almost like a self-healing for healers club, if you like, where I'm going to give my take on the fundamentals of what it takes, and then we work through it all together. And that's what I've set up, and it's quite different to anything else. And that's what I'm going to be offering out to people, kind of the becoming enough revolution. I haven't got a different name for it yet. I don't know what to call it, but that's kind of that's what it's been in my head for a while. And that's what my book that I've written but haven't typed up is called as well. So because I want people to self-heal with others, all the parts of their lives, getting rid of oh my gosh, that's a nice smile. Oh, sorry. You're like, oh. Sorry. Oh, if I put him up, he'd go again, so I won't do that, but it was very cute. Oh, I think that's how I get attention. Yeah, totally. Anyway, sorry, totally distracted. Yeah, that's what I'm inviting people to join. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on, because it's important. It's the most important thing, but it's going to be very specifically for people who are already looking to heal other people, because I'm passionate about helping people who heal more people, because we all stop ourselves. So that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm opening up. But I will keep doing masterclasses on parts of it that I feel need to come out, and acceptance, full accept, like total acceptance is I mean, like radical acceptance. I know that sounds nuts, but like total and utter obliteration of non-acceptance. Not that it's not acceptable not to accept yourself. You can't even, when you see a bit of you, no, I love that, and I love that part of me. I'm teaching my daughter, who sometimes gets like sore tummy, is like, love your tummy, love it so much. Because if your tummy is hurting, it's just, it's like anybody else. When something hurts, we need to love it so much and accept exactly where we are. Letting go. And again, it's radical letting go. It's understand, what are we holding on to? What emotions, what, like being wronged, what are we actually holding on to that is physically causing us to be less than for ourselves? Where are we showing up that is allowing us to give away our power? So it's letting go, not just of stuff, but of outcomes, but of people, but of emotions, and realizing that things like anger, like letting go of boobs as well. What do we need to let go of in order to sit in love? Which, so if it's physically a person, as in anger towards a person or a thing or an entity, or a when people are like angry at, so say somebody's signed, I'm going to say it because I've seen it just this morning, someone signed up to a mastermind with one of their coaches and was so angry that it wasn't what she thought. I'm like, so she signed up to something, that is rubbish if it's not what you think. But this holding on to this anger at this community, at this coach, that it wasn't what you thought, is only causing detriment inside. You can either take action against it and say, well, actually, no, I want my money back, that was shit. But being so angry is hang on a sec, Zeke. Being so angry is causing massive holes in herself, and actually she's going to she letting go, there you go, of everything, because it's resentment and I deserve to hold on to it because I've been wronged is big. Yes, they don't deserve me to forgive them is a huge, they don't deserve me not to hate them anymore. I know it may sound really basic to people who've worked on it, but it's huge. So and then understanding the trauma responses, the behaviors that we're doing because of it. So there are the three things that the minute I don't feel great, or I slip into self-doubt, or I start listening to negative feedback about me, that's where I go. What do I need to accept? What do I need to let go of? And what behavior am I doing that's a trauma response? Pooing. Okay. That's not a trauma response. That's a natural bodily function. In bed, apparently. Not me, the baby. If I stop pooing in bed, don't judge me. Just maybe kindly say, don't do it on camera. That'd be really great. I'd hope that from my people around me to suggest that I don't shit in bed. I'm sure they won't. That's why I've said don't do that, Lucy. Okay, not that I'm judging you because you're lovely as you are, but please don't shit the bed. Okay, thanks. There we go. So but yes, I accept that I've done it. And the cleanup anyway. I digress, but so if you guys here or anyone who's watching on replay would like to be part of something part of kind of an ongoing like self-healers club, but for healers, for holistic healers, then that's what I'm opening up. Like I said, I never do a hard sell because it just isn't me, but it is a passion. So if you guys want more information on it, then let me know. I'll probably send it out anyway. And any questions on it or any kind of conversations you want to start up, I've got the new I've set up a new Facebook group where any chat can. What's the third thing? Understanding your trauma response, your traumatic response. So it's acceptance, letting go, and the understanding of our traumatic responses. What is it? Which ultimately you can call behaviors or reactions rather than responses. So when we react, don't know about you, but I probably still am a bit of a firecracker. So I remember being very, very afraid to heal, right? Because I didn't want to lose my fieriness. I thought my fieriness was really cool. And what if I'm so healed and I'm all zen? I'm not going to be this poof. And I am still a firecracker. But actually I'm not so like, I would get angry like that. I would bam straight in and I would start shaking because I would get so, it would trigger me so much. And I just didn't want to, I wanted to be able to go, that's not fucking okay, without being so activated that I came out of consciousness, that I was completely unconscious, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to be able to consciously go, do you know what? I don't think so. And still be my fiery self without, again, that wasn't me. Please. No, I do generally blame the baby when I fart, but that really wasn't me. He's like, wasn't me either. Don't know what you're talking about. That isn't a trauma response either. That's just, bless you. Oh dear. Do you know when you're quite glad you've got mustard colored sheets? Because when you have that's the color of my sheets and it kind of matches any baby poo that might go onto it. So I'm really glad I bought that color of sheets now because I don't have to change them as much. Right. Do you know what? This is getting too personal. I'm going to talk about the amount I smear in breast milk poop into my own bed sheets. I'm not going to go on about that anymore. Anyway, I don't do that. It's fine. Let's talk to somebody else. Right. Where were we? Yeah. So it's and it's I had to sort of when I was like, I don't want to lose my fieriness because I'm bam, 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 bam. And I thought that I would lose that if I healed. So actually part of me didn't want to heal because I didn't want to lose that part of me. But I still am that part of me. I'm just, it's more control and it's actually more, people actually listen a bit more because I'm not acting out of trauma, out of defense. Now, defensiveness, massively traumatic response. Like when you're defensive, right, and I didn't even realize I was defensive until earlier on this year. Had no clue that I was a defensive human being. But it was like, oh my gosh, it was like someone even asked me something. She, oh my God, you're so defensive. I'm like, no, I'm not. She's like, oh my God, you are though. And I was like arguing the fact that I wasn't even defensive. She's like, does it really matter? And I was like, oh my, and it was like, I've been told for years, oh, you're a bit defensive, chill out. And yet this one person was able to make me see how defensive I was. And you know, when you stop defending your actions, boy, do people have very little to say. You're like, okay, sure, think that. What what can people do? What can people do? And I have noticed how I go, yeah, sure, whatever, think that. Because when we're defensive, we actually believe a part of what's being told about us that we don't like. So what we're doing is we're just adding fuel in. And actually, if you are wanting to defend yourself, say, oh, what about this do I believe then? Because if I'm so adamantly trying to defend myself against it, part of it is ringing true. Not that it is true, but it feels true to us. Because otherwise, why would we defend it? If someone says, oh my God, you're such a dog killer. All right, then, whatever. Like, okay, think that then. You know, if you're obsessively trying to defend yourself, then there's so much in you that feels defensive. Do you know, defensiveness just attracts attack. The more defensive we are, the more we're going to attract people attacking us. So yes, we are. Well, that's true, isn't it? Yeah. No, smile or cry. Smile. Okay. So yeah. So that's another, I would say that's another trauma response, is needing to defend ourselves. And that actually goes back to a story of mine, very briefly, of always worried I was going to go to prison for something I hadn't done. So always needed to have an alibi. I needed to always defend my behavior and something, like, so much so that when I was 17, I became acrophobic because I was so worried about being about being accused of something I hadn't done. I didn't want to be out alone in case I needed an alibi. Like, what the actual fuck? God knows. I mean, I haven't yet figured out where that comes from. But when I figured out that that's where I was thinking, it's like, oh my goodness me. So when we're acting in defense, again, that is just a trauma response coming from a version of not enough. And something else that you might be interested in, I wrote it down because I was interested in this cycle of what happens. And so when we have a traumatic event, then we have the response to that traumatic event immediately, and then we have the fallout of that traumatic event. So we have it could be a car crash, then we have a traumatic response, which is generally fight, flight, freeze, generally freeze. Yeah. After that, we have the fallout, which is the release, which is the crying, the depression, the destruction, the rage. And then we get to the distraction. So unless we deal with it right there and then, which people don't generally deal with the fallout while the fallout, they want to talk. They talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. That's what people do when they're in this fallout phase. Then we've got the necessary distraction, because we can't live in that fallout phase. We can't live in that, I need to talk about it and regurgitate, because actually, like I said earlier, people get disinterested and actually we're just talking and talking and talking. It's not helping us. So then if we haven't dealt with it in a way that's actually released the trauma, we go into distraction, which is work, general life, TV, just getting on. And then we hit the life struggles. And that's where I feel we get to people, we meet people when they're actually, right now, I've gone through the trauma, the traumatic response, the fallout, I've distracted myself enough. Now I'm getting on with life, but I can't, because it's so hard, because I'm still living in the traumatic event. And I would say the best time we can catch people is right after the event, when they're in response. When they're in fallout, they don't want to deal with the traumatic event. They need to just release and they want to talk. But actually where we tend to get people is in where the life struggle happens. And I've kind of learned that when people come at me and then they're crying, depression, they're in destruction and anger, they want to talk and talk and talk and talk. And I'm like, okay, do that. But right now, if that's what you need, that's not where I'm going to be able to step in. I can hear you as a friend, but probably not as a therapist, if you know what I mean. I'm not as a practitioner, because that's what you need to do. But where I would put them to a different practitioner, because where my genius is when they're in the life struggles. If the trauma response hasn't been dealt with and it's showing up now just in life, in behavior. So I don't know why I shared that with you, but that was a real interesting kind of, I just was logging the process that I keep seeing. And it's those 5 things on repeat all the time, because then life struggles happen, they're living in the trauma. So they create another traumatic event in order to try and heal it. So then they go through trauma response again. And it's like this cycle. And then they're sad and they're crying. So you'll see it in relationships. They've had the relationship, they've had the response, then they're crying because the relationship's awful or it's over. And then they distract themselves, so they never actually deal with the problem. They might deal with a bit of the traumatic response. And then they're getting on with life, they're getting on with life. And then they start falling in love again, and they're still attracting the same thing again. And then they go back into the traumatic event again. And it keeps going round and round and round until at some point we stop this cycle. So that was just my nugget on when we actually tend to heal people. We'll either get them at the fallout phase or the life struggles phase. But what I would love it if I could get people just after the event, while they're still in traumatic response straight after the event. That would be an amazing place that we could heal. But people tend not to realize that's what's happening, and reach out for help either in depression or when their life is on in struggling, because also that's when they have the financial capability to get help. People don't generally look online or look for help, professional help, when they're in this awful fallout. But yeah, anyway, I hope that's helped. If you want to know any more information about the kind of this, it's this revolution, this kind of project that I'm doing on the enoughness project, then let me know. Join the Facebook group Becoming Enough Project, because I'm going to share loads of becoming, and I want your Becoming Enough stuff in there as well. It's a public group because I'm passionate about people being aware of their not enough stories. So join it's just a Facebook group. Join the group and share any not enoughs that come up for you. Just to sharing awareness is key as well. And because I'm going to stick to my timings, I'm going to go. I thank you so much. And I would love your feedback on what you felt was helpful and what you felt could do with more explaining. And if you'd like to be part of the revolution, the group that I'm setting up, that'd be cool. But for now, with love from me to you. Anyone who's coming to Business B, I'll see you in 2 minutes, maybe with less shit on the bed. And I will and I will see you super duper soon. So with love from me to you. Bye 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 bye.